32 ACP versus 380 ACP and pocket guns. What I have today is some Sellier and Bellot full metal jacket ammunition. Our 32 ACP is a 73 grain and it is rated at 1,043 feet per second. Our 380 ACP is a 92 grain rated at 955 feet per second. So I had a lot of comments in the past when I tested some American Eagle. People would say, well, you need to get some European made ammunition because it's going to be a lot hotter than that American Eagle American made ammunition. So I picked up some Czechoslovakian Sellier and Bellot. And if we look at the velocity ratings, yes, they are higher for, at least for the 32. The American Eagle is rated at 900 feet per second for our 32, as where this is rated at 1,043. And, you know, a little bit difference in grain weight, 71 versus 73 grain. But our 380 ACP, the American Eagle, is rated at 980 feet per second. This is only rated at 955 feet per second, and it is 3 grains lighter. But we will see if it actually is hotter than American-made ammunition. So I'm going to go through the chronograph, see what kind of velocity and accuracy I get at the same time. Then I'm going to do my 10% clear ballistic test. We're going to go into plain clear ballistics to see what the best potential of those cartridges are. After that, I'm going to do more of our real-world simulation. I have 4 layers of denim, which I know is redundant, but I like to keep my test consistent. We're going to put 4 layers of denim on the first 3-inch piece that represents our pectoral muscle. After that, a 1/4-inch medium density fiberboard to represent hidden ribs or sternum. So we'll do a plain clear ballistic shot and then a real world simulation, see how they compare with both of those shots. And then I am going to shoot at the steel target to see what kind of practical accuracy I can get with these. So let's get started with this test. All right, first up we have our 380 ACP. And just to take a note here, when it's cold like it is today, with the wind chill, it is 12 degrees out today. When I do have to wear my earmuffs on the top of a knit hat, I do have earplugs also in place to make up for that lack of seal there. But with our 380 ACP, 92 grain, we are rated at 955 feet per second. But what I'm mostly curious about is how close will this get to what we got with the American Eagle 95 grain, which is only 3 grains heavier. With that, we got 768 feet per second. So according to people that talk about this stuff, I'm definitely going to get exceedingly higher than that 768 feet per second. That being said, in my experience, whenever people say that stuff to me, they're usually wrong. But let's see if we get a lot more than 768 feet per second with our 380 here. Not sure if that was a read. Yeah, it was. 856. 876. 926, 888. So one of those shots I pulled it way high and to the right so it didn't get a read. I didn't think that was a read at first because I ran my 22 pistol over that chronograph to make sure it was working today, and the numbers were so similar. I'm like, that actually reads. So people were definitely right with that ammunition. Now our 32 ACP, this is rated at 1,043 feet per second, which is a lot higher rating than the 900 that American Eagle rated theirs at. And this is actually heavier. American Eagle 71 grain in this little pistol. That gave me 737 feet per second. 2 grains heavier here. Let's see how close we get to 737, see if we get higher than that. 32 ACP. $769. 728, 756, 786, 760, 839. We had in that last one. So maybe a little bit hotter because the weight's a little bit heavier, but really not a whole lot different than the American Eagle for our 32, as where our 380 was a lot hotter. Interesting. Let's start our ballistics gel block, see how these compare. All right, our first shot in the plain clear ballistics, our best potential here. If it were a hollow point, no denim to clog a hollow point. We're not dealing with that, but I like to stay consistent and use it. And also our rip simulation can sometimes slow down penetration. So without any of that, let's see what we get with our best potential here, 380 ACP. Let me hit that one more time. That looked weird. It went kind of down. One more shot here. All right. 32 ACP. Let's see what this does. Let's go take a look. All right, so we did catch that first shot. I just didn't see it in there because the track kind of vanished a little bit. But it did arc down kind of weird, and at the bottom of this gel, it does kind of arc up a little bit from melting. So I'm going to discount that. But it does look like we had a lot of tumbling going on in there with our 380 here, because we have this really large wound track there, and that generally happens from tumbling. So right at about 6 inches, it started to tumble. You know, pretty decent energy dump in this first 3 inches, if I'm going to be honest here. You know, you typically don't see any when you're talking like 9mm and stuff, but I think with the slower stuff like 380 and 32, because it's moving slower, it kind of imparts a little more damage as it goes in. That's what I've noticed. But with our 380, we have definitely a little bit of over penetration. We're looking at about 21¼ inches of penetration. That's definitely over penetration, but in the real world simulation, we typically don't see that. And also what people have told me that have actually been involved in this type of stuff, law enforcement and whatnot, stuff like this doesn't pass through, even though it shows more penetration in plain gel. That's why I do a real world simulation. So honestly, in the real world, that's not going to over penetrate. When we look at our 32, we're at 15½ inches. So perfect penetration for our 32. So let's put on our denim, put in our rib simulation, see how they compare in more of our real world simulation. All right, more of our real world simulation. 4 layers of denim, 3 inches of clear ballistics to represent a pectoral muscle, 1/4 inch medium density fiberboard to represent ribs or sternum. Let's see what we get with our 380 here. All right. Hit that with our 32 ACP. Let's go take a look. All right, so the bullets did not intersect paths. I know sometimes parallax will confuse people. They'll see things and they'll think it's the same track, or I'm shooting through the same track on those first shots that are 2 inches over that way, but they're not crossing paths anywhere. But it does look like our 380 kind of curved in a little bit towards the that direction, and then our 32 just kind of went over it. So looking through our rib simulation here, a 380 on the bottom, our 32 on top. It honestly looks like our 380 is starting to wobble around a little bit because that hole is slightly keyholed horizontally, and that would account for that tumbling in that first part there. So we can see here that rib simulation does make a big difference, and this is what I was talking about. Like, if we had this type of penetration with 9mm, we would also have that penetration with the rib simulation in there, because at that power level, you know, the rib simulation doesn't make a big difference, and you would definitely have over penetration with a higher caliber if this were to represent that over penetration. But when you have a smaller caliber, like, I don't know, 22, 32, 380, if you get over penetration like this, you know, you're not going to get that over penetration in a real body because the power level just isn't there. So it is kind of a complex thing to try to decipher here when we're talking terminal ballistics, but that's kind of how it is. So with our 380 ACP and our 32, just went right through about the same damage they had before. Our 380 ACP, we had a total track of 15½ inches. I think that's what I quoted with the 32 in plain gel, so 15½ inches. Now what's really surprising is our 32 here, a lot of times our 32 does not go that far in gel, but we got about 14¾ inches of penetration. So honestly, both of these are looking really, really good for what they are, especially that 380. But I'm most surprised by the 32 because some of the brands of 32 FMJ I've ran have not been particularly good. But this seems to be pretty good here. So looking at both of these, I can't really tell you one's a whole lot better than the other. Now obviously with our terminal ballistics, our 380 is a lot more powerful, and it'll probably do a better job if you make that shot, but you know, you have a lot more recoil to deal with, and our 32 is still pretty good. So let's pull these out of the block, take a close-up look at them, then I'll shoot our steel and see what kind of practical accuracy I can get with these. All right, so here's a close-up look at these bullets. You're not going to learn a whole lot by looking at these, but I think with the temperature being 11 degrees with the wind chill, I think it is important to bring up a topic that I deal with so often with people commenting. They say, oh, it's cold out. Your results are skewed because it's cold out and your gel is cold. I keep my gel inside the house, whether it's summer or winter, and the inside of that temperature of the gel, because it is synthetic gel, remains at roughly 65 degrees. When I actually cut into this in the wintertime, I warm my fingers on the inside of that gel just to warm them up when they're freezing, because it keeps that temperature. And only about a 1/4 inch of the surface of this will take in this temperature, even after sitting out here in 11 degrees for a half hour. So the internal temperature of this gel is going to be the same whether it's July or like now January. So I just want to make a point of that and mention that because I deal with that comment so often. It's weird. But looking at our bullets here, you're not going to learn a lot from this. Our plain gel shots right here in front, and the back we have the ones to the medium density fiberboard and denim that I marked with a little mark on them so I can tell the difference here. So 380 ACP, pretty good sized jacket there. 32 ACP plain gel. Going through our fabric rib simulation, 380. 32 ACP. So what I am noticing about these bullets, I do think they have a higher brass content with their jackets versus American-made ammo. Is more yellow, which would indicate that. But also I'm looking at the jacket thickness and how little these things deform after going through rib simulation. So I do think that the jackets that are offered on these, even though this is cheaper ammo, I think it's a higher quality ammo because you're getting a tougher jacket than what you would get. And that would kind of account for, you know, American Eagle not penetrating so well through rib simulation because it's flattened a little bit and take on some of that energy. And with this, it's so hard, it just punches right through. So I think this is actually a little bit better if you're talking full metal jacket ammunition overall. So that's a close-up look at those bullets. All right, about 12 yards from target. I just want to see what kind of practical shootability I get with these. Our LCP 380 and typical 380s this size. This is a 6+1 capacity. A 32 is actually a 7+1 capacity, and I know every time I do this, somebody chimes in, you can get the extended grip for the 380. I do have that, but I like to stay consistent with the same base plate grip between the both of these. You can also get a 10-round magazine for our 32. I just like to stay consistent here with, you know, how these things come. So just our practical shootability here. Let's see what I can do with our 380 ACP. 12 yards from the target. Just going to land them on target as fast as I think I can hit the target, which is kind of hard with these gloves, but my hands, I felt like I was getting frostbite from taking these off for just the amount of time it took to load these things. So let's see how I get here with that 380. All right, pretty good shootability. 32 ACP. Let's see what I can do with this. So that was kind of not a fair test. I could definitely do this a lot faster, but one thing I noticed is that the size of the hole in there for our trigger guard, it will accommodate this glove with the 380 ACP, but not with the 32. I was pushing my finger back forward and it was still not resetting the trigger, so I had to push it back forward again to get the 32 trigger back forward. So let me try that one more time without the glove. So let me go reload this. I'll be right back. All right, let's see what I can do here without a glove. 32 ACP. All right, well, that one kind of get away from me a little bit. They're going a little too fast. So let me back it up a little bit and see how these things continue to shoot for me. All right, 40 yards from the target, our dick and drill distance. I'm not going to do the actual dick and drill. I don't even have enough rounds to do that if I had 2 magazines, but let's see what we get here with our 380 ACP. Just going to line these things up, shoot real slow. See what I can do with this. So 380 here. Oh, starting to get a little dirty here. And that could be a thing. I didn't experience this with the American Eagle. We had a little failure to extract, I believe. Yep. Very, very dirty. Failure to extract. Keep going here. All right, so those are shooting a little bit low. I had to aim my point of hold to be able to hit that target properly. 32 ACP, let's see what this does. That's for sure I was going to miss that last shot because I jerked that trigger just a little bit on that last shot and it still hit. So for me, this is a lot more accurate. So here's where things get interesting. This is why I do these accuracy tests here. If I was not going to do this accuracy test and this shootability test, I would tell you right away after doing a ballistic test that the 380 ACP is the better choice. Use that. After doing this and seeing how much easier it is to shoot the 32, whether it's up close or further away, and it seems to be more accurate, more point of aim for me, I'm going to say I would pick the 32 over the 380 because we had essentially the same thing going on in our clear ballistic test. And that's what's interesting about this. I've tested a few different loads here, and what we saw, I think with the American Eagle as well, as the American Eagle got a lot more penetration through our real world simulation, but when we look at this ammo, essentially the very similar amount of penetration. We had enough penetration with our 32 ACP. So that being said, you combine that with the fact that I'm a little more accurate with the 32, and the recoil is not so brutal in the 32 and that little tiny pistol, I'm going to choose that 32. Now the 380, it malfunctioned once. A lot of people say there's something wrong with my gun. I don't necessarily think that. I think just that the tolerance was a little bit tighter, and we had a failure to extract, and that was some pretty sooty ammo. So that makes sense why that would happen with this, but not with the American Eagle. But overall, I'm just going to say I think the 32, it has a little bit of everything that we want, and we did not get over penetration in our plain gel shot. We got perfect penetration there, perfect penetration in our real world simulation. So considering that, and it shot very good for me, I think the 32 is better. Now our 380, that still did pretty good, and that is a very powerful 380 for what it is, so I'm very impressed with it. I think it's a fantastic choice if you're going to run it and you can shoot it well. But for me, I'm going to pick the 32. So very interesting here. Some of what people were saying was right, some of it wasn't. But that's what you get today. So as always, comment, share, and like, and thanks for watching.